Hi, my name is Wendy. I'm a poet, a lover, aesthete. I will be reciting a poem called Requiem for the Unknown. This poem is inspired by a poem of a similar name by June Jordan, an American activist, essayist, poet, called Requiem for the Unremembered. So it is a, it is a, I don't know the word. You cut that part out. Anyway, it is an ode to all the girls who have been violated and their names have not been remembered. So here goes. Requiem for the Unknown. What do we do now, cloaked in these thick shawls of silence? What do we do now? Our hushed lips couldn't save her. The silence bubbled and thickened, but was punctured by her cries and screams. Say her name, unrecorded, unremembered, lost. And she died as she had lived, unseen, even by the man who dared to violate, strip, and destroy. And we couldn't even say her name. Her memory lives on as a number in a book. One of 4 women in Malawi experiences sexual violence in their lifetime.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to Pepeta. Yeah, on a number of issues. I have a number of issues that Wendy shared with me so that I could actually reflect on. So the first issue that I'll be looking at is with respect to how can women in Malawi ignite political change. Right. I think the major issue here is that we should try as much as possible to have more women participating in politics. We should have more women standing for political offices. But then looking at the experience from the context of Malawian women, it's kind of difficult. The requirements that are there for women to stand for public office are not that clear, and sometimes they are punitive when we look at them from the perspective of a local Malawian women. For instance, according to the Constitution in Section 52, for one to stand as an MP, as a councillor, they're supposed to be able to read and speak English language so that they're able to stand for parliamentary elections. And even for those that have to stand as councillors, they should also be able to speak and read. Yet if you look at Malawian women, you'd find that a majority of them are unable to meet that particular requirement. Most Malawian women lack formal education. If you look at literacy rates among Malawian women, they are lower in comparison to men, so that puts them at a disadvantage in terms of being able to stand. Participation also in politics generally is expensive. As such, you need women or everyone to have actually financial resources to be able to stand for political office. Yet, if you look at statistics, a majority of Malawians, almost 50% of Malawians are poor. And from that number, you have a lot of women also that are very disadvantaged. So they cannot have the financial resources to actually stand for politics. You need, for political positions, you need money to do campaigns. That is just quite an expensive path to take. Okay, if you look at women that are public servants, for instance, it means those ones at least are able to meet the minimum requirements. They are educated, they're able to read and speak English. But you are looking at a woman that is already established, financially secure already by working as a public servant. But one of the requirements for you to participate in politics is that you have to resign. Now, how many women will take that particular risk to actually resign from their public service job? If that happens, it means they're becoming financially insecure, and a fewer number of women would actually take that particular risk. Generally, Malawian women would not have access to financial resources, and therefore, when they have that particular job in public service, they would want to stick to that particular job. There was also an issue to do with the role of social media. Right. With the issues to do with technology, we've seen a lot of platforms coming up to facilitate issues of sharing information. And social media is one of such avenues that people can easily access information. So if a woman intends to stand or participate in politics, they can use various social media platforms to actually sell themselves, share information with their maybe admirers or people that can vote for them. And if you look at, from the experience of the recent elections, you'd notice that a majority, we had a lot of young people voting for the first time. And the young people are the ones that are more interested in social media issues, technology issues. So if now a woman uses the social media to actually attract and appeal to their voters, that would be a platform that they would use to actually ensure that things work to their advantage. So, so many organizations in Malawi actually use that element. So let's use social media and the fact that there are more younger women and younger voters coming into the political scene. Let's do something that will help us attract such kind of voters. So we have like the 50-50 Malawi 50-50 management agency. They used a lot of social media. They used a lot of kind of adverts to sell women, campaign messages to sell women using social media. And actually that worked to ensure that at least, yes, you have the ability to appeal to these young voters that are more conversant with social media issues, and at the same time you're able to sell the women's agenda, or in general, the gender equality agenda, using that particular social media. Okay, so it's essentially a cheap means of sharing information. So if we are saying that women that are standing for political office have limited income to run their campaign, but then there is social media that more people can access, especially the younger voters, that will lessen the financial burden on them in terms of financing their campaign. Okay, there was another question to do with the role of young women in politics. So yeah, there are a lot of roles that young women can actually play. They can be candidates, so as MPs, as councillors. They can be a voter, so they can play that particular role of a voter, which is very important. They can also attend political party rallies, you know. They have that particular role. We are not necessarily that they're going there to dance, you know, but to actually learn, to appreciate, to understand what is happening. As they are moving along, attending these political parties, it's giving them even an opportunity to know what is happening in terms of political rallies, what happens at political rallies, and that would help them when they want to stand later on in the future. Another question, okay, they can also work as, or they can participate as party structure leaders. So maybe being an MP and a councillor is too high a stage at a certain point, but then there are committees so you are talking about maybe at national level, regional level, at the district level. They can hold such kind of positions in those particular levels. So they can be party structure leaders. We know there are women wings or youth wings, so the women can also, the young women can play that particular crucial role, even in those particular youth wings that are there, maybe in university campuses and generally in the political parties. Okay, now we are talking about gender equality issues, and then there was a question to say, can men be allies of women in the mission of achieving gender equality? Now, we are talking about giving women and men equal opportunities. So what it means is that these opportunities maybe were only available to one group. Now you are trying to say, okay, let's share these opportunities. I do believe that the men have a role to play in ensuring that they can even share those particular spaces where women can actually participate. So men are in majority as well in terms of positions that have to decide in terms of how certain resources, certain decisions have to be made. They are at the prime in terms of position, in terms of ensuring that the gender equality agenda is actually pushed and achieved. So that cannot happen if men cannot work together with women. So we need to have men indeed working alongside the women for us to achieve this particular mission of gender equality. You know, in our society, because we are embedded in a patriarchal society where the focus is on, okay, men dominating women. Yeah? In the process, you have men trivializing the experiences of women. Now, you need to do something that will ensure that you let the men know that it doesn't make sense for them to trivialize the experience of these women. How is that possible? Only if they participate, only if they are part and parcel of that particular gender equality agenda. They should be able to appreciate that it's not okay to dominate or use their male chauvinism in particular contexts. It's okay for them to kind of be in the shoes of this woman that is experiencing certain bad things, for them to actually understand. It's not making sense for women to be, for them to keep treating maybe women as second-class citizens. That can't happen if they don't work as allies on this particular journey. Men need to know how women feel. They need to appreciate that if we are able to address, all the social ills to do with the gender issues in maybe Malawi, in our society, they have to play that particular role. So indeed, men, they need to be working together with the women. How do we start that? Maybe we can start by maybe engaging in re-socialization. The men, the boys would think it's normal for them to laugh at the negative experiences of women or girls just because they are women or they are girls. But if you take this process of re-socializing, looking at your educational curriculum, putting in place these trainings that combine both men and women, girls and boys in terms of gender, I'm sure there'll be an aspect of mindset change, and people would the men would start looking at these gender equality issues from a different perspective. At the moment, because we haven't done maybe a lot in terms of ensuring that everyone plays a role, they think that, okay, anything to do with gender equality is aiming at taking certain powers from them, and therefore no one wants to be in that particular position. Everyone wants to feel that, you know what, I'm in charge. But through avenues that advocate for these particular issues, incorporating the interests of men and women, we should be able to drive this agenda together. There's always this concern that, society is busy empowering the girl child. Yet we are forgetting that this girl child will meet a boy or a man in future that hasn't had the opportunity to appreciate the experiences of women and girls. So you might be busy empowering this girl, this woman, but then there's nothing that is being done from the perspective of the boys, from the perspective of the men. By the end of the day, things will not change. We'll still be in that particular position of power imbalances. As I said, no one wants to feel that you are taking power from them. But let's work together as allies in this particular gender equality agenda. Right. There was an issue to do with Tosi Alliance turning on women or turns on women. I think it was in the context of the environment at that particular point when Wendy was sending these questions over. At this point, what I can say is that I'm happy that happened, whatever. The fact that, okay, women went to the streets to demonstrate in line with or against the appointments that were done at that particular point. But I think 2 days ago, we've seen that actually we have some fruits as a result of those particular demonstrations that took place. We've seen the president abiding by the law in terms of the appointments of the High Court judges and the Supreme Court judges. I think for the High Court judges, we've managed to get actually 50-50. That's what we managed. So we would say that aspect actually helps. We are hoping for the best, that the president and all other appointment authorities will continue to respect the law, which is ensuring that there's at least for the 60 in terms of the public appointments. I think at this point, let me thank you for this opportunity, for giving me a chance to talk and give my views on these particular aspects. Thank you so much.